Today I'm going to show you how to get every Ashen Winds Commendation, and along the way unlock the Sails of Ashen Winds, all 4 Bane Tattoos, and the Scorched and Seared Forsaken Ashes sets. First things first, the Scorched and Seared Forsaken Ashes sets, along with the Sails of the Ashen Winds and Hunter's Bane Tattoos, are all non-time limited and will be available for the foreseeable future. Both sets are entire sets, meaning they have a ship set, weapons, clothing, and equipment, and all the items can be purchased from their normal vendors. So the ship set can be purchased from the shipwright, the weapons can be purchased from the weaponsmith, and so on. But every piece of these sets are locked behind various commendations, and by the end of this video, you'll know how to get every single one of them. By the way, to buy all of both of the sets will cost you just over 4 million gold. Okay, now let's get to the commendations. If you want to track any of them, go into your menu, Power Log, Reputations, Build Rats, and then go to the second page, and then we're looking for everything under Ashen Winds. Now, really quick, you may know that I already made this video, but with Season 11, they actually made this grind significantly easier. So I figured maybe it was time to remake this guide. Alright, first things first, every single one of these commendations revolves around a specific enemy called an Ashen Lord. Now, Ashen Lords can be encountered in 2 locations. Ashen Winds world events, which have this big fire tornado. When you get there, you will only find an Ashen Lord, and the entire world event is fighting that Ashen Lord. And the other option is Forts of Fortune. But the thing with Forts of Fortune is you'll have to fight your way through waves of skeletons before you eventually get to an Ashen Lord at the very end. So Ashen Winds world events will always be faster. But there is actually a way to do this even faster. Go to your quest table, and then go to any faction that you are at least level 30 in. Then go to Raid Voyages, and you should find a duel with an Ashen Lord. Now put this down and hit Vote to Dive. You'll dive and surface right in front of an Ashen Winds world event. And for this, weapons-wise, I would recommend grabbing a blunderbuss and a cutlass. Now head to the island and you will be faced with one of 4 Ashen Lords: Captain Grimm, Red Ruth, Old Horatio, or Warden Chi. All 4 of these Ashen Lords are mechanically identical. The only difference is they look different and have different dialogues, and they progress different commendations. But we'll get to those commendations in a minute. Alright, now let's talk about fighting the Ashen Lord. First of all, the best strategy I've found is to run up to them, shoot them with a blunderbuss, and walk past them while you're reloading, then walk back, shoot them again, and then walk past them, and then repeat that. And there's generally an ammo chest nearby, so just go to that ammo chest and refill it. The reason you walk past the Ashen Lord is it generally makes their melee attacks kind of mess up, and they generally miss, like, a lot. If you just back directly away from them, that'll still work, but sometimes they'll still hit. But if you walk past them, it generally confuses their AI and they can't really hit you. The Ashen Lord has 2 throwable attacks where they'll chuck a boulder at you. They'll either throw it way up into the sky and it'll arc and hit where you were, or they'll throw it directly at you. Both of these attacks are kind of a pain, but basically just move away from wherever it was going to hit. They generally don't deal too much damage, so you can heal from them pretty quickly. Though I should note, if no one is fighting the Ashen Lord actively, they'll start throwing rocks at your boat, which will do damage, so you want to keep someone on the Ashen Lord at all times. One of their more deadly attacks is a fire breath attack, where they'll do this animation and then breathe fire forward. That is a lot of damage really fast, so try to stay out of that. As a note, if you're too close to them, even while you're behind them, you'll still take damage from it. Their next attack is Summon Skeletons. It looks like this, and this is the reason why you have the sword. These skeletons have really low health and can be taken out by a single sword lunge. So just while they're spawning, lunge through them, or kind of cart them around until they're in a big group, and then lunge through them and kill all of them. Now eventually, once you damage the Ashen Lord enough, it'll fall over like this, and this signifies it's switching stages. The Ashen Lord has 3 stages. The second stage will start when they hit roughly 75% of their health, and the third stage will start when they hit roughly half health. With each stage, they'll unlock a new ability, making the Ashen Lord fight slightly harder. Another thing, while they're switching phases, you'll have 30 seconds to do whatever you want. This is a good time to take out any straggler skeletons, get food, get ammo, and make sure you're ready for the next stage. And if you want to initiate their next phase faster and not wait the whole 30 seconds, just smack the Ashen Lord a bunch with your sword, and that'll skip the rest of the in-between phase and go straight to the next phase. But I should note, damaging the Ashen Lord in between phases does not actually deal any damage to their health bar. All it'll do is make the next stage start sooner. Now in the second phase, the Ashen Lord will get a ground pound ability. They'll do this animation and then slam their fists into the ground, which will push back all the players around them, and if you're especially close to them, you'll also get set on fire. The fire is kind of the worst part of this attack. That's it for stage 2. Once you damage it enough, they'll fall over again, go to the in-between phase, and then once they get back up, they'll start phase 3, in which they will get the new attack, World's End, which is by far the Ashen Lord's most dangerous attack. For this attack, they will start breathing fire and then slam their fist into the ground. This will cause 3 things to happen. 1, the water around the island will start to boil. For this, just stay out of the water. 2, geysers will start appearing on the sand and dirt. For this, just get off the ground, either stand on rocks or barrels. And the last and most deadly part of this attack is the volcanic rocks falling from the sky. For this, you're just going to have to kind of stare at them and make sure you're not where they're going to hit. This attack is generally kind of hard to dodge, and these rocks can actually one-shot you, so try and avoid them the best you can. Also, it's ideal to make sure that your ship is out of range of this. You can either go to your ship and move it yourself, or just park your ship in a spot that should already be outside of range, or while you're fighting the Ashen Lord, just move it away from your ship. But the strategy for the third phase is exactly the same as the other two, just keep hitting it with the blunderbuss and kill its skeletons with the swords. Eventually this will cause the Ashen Lord to go down, which will spawn geysers around the area. Each of these geysers will drop a piece of loot, so make sure you grab all of those, and the Ashen Lord itself will drop an Ashen Wind skull. Now, as previously mentioned, there are a couple commendations for killing an Ashen Lord. There's a Hunter commendation for each of the 4 Ashen Lords, which is just kill a specific Ashen Lord 5 times, but there's also the Banisher of the Flame commendation, which is just kill Ashen Lords 25 times. So ideally, you get the other 4 commendations while you're working towards Banisher, but chances are you won't, and some Ashen Lords will take you a little bit longer than others, but the luck shouldn't be too bad with this. Now, once you get this Ashen Wind skull, there's a couple other commendations we can go for. First of all, if you've never seen this thing before, if you hold down the fire button while holding it, it'll become a flamethrower and just shoot fire. Now, important things to note with this. It has a limited amount of fire in it. The gems on top of it will be fully glowing when you get it, and then they will slowly dim as you use the power until eventually they just go dark, which means there is no power left in the Ashen Wind skull. Now, there are 2 commendations revolving around selling this. There's one for selling 25 Ashen Wind skulls, which you should get around the same time as Banisher of the Flame, and there is Skull of Fire, which is sell a fully ignited Ashen Wind skull, which just means you sold an Ashen Wind skull without using any of its charges. Now, quickly, before you go to sell this Ashen Wind skull, I just want you to check on your server if the next world event is a skeleton fleet. Skeleton fleets are this ship-shaped cloud, and they should be near the center of the map. If you see this, you should head to it with your Ashen Wind skull, as it's the best way to work on our next 3 commendations. Once you get there, you're going to want to take your Ashen Wind skull and get it and you onto one of the skeleton ships somehow. Best way of doing this is probably just to ram with the Ashen Wind skull and then hop on. But once you get onto the skeleton ship with your Ashen Wind skull, there's 3 commendations we can progress here. First of all is Ashen Bones, which is set fire to 20 skeletons with the Ashen Wind skull, and Captain of Ashen Bones, which is set fire to 100 skeletons with the Ashen Wind skull. Basically, once you're on the ship, just fire all the skeletons in front of you so they don't hit you, and then what you're going to do is look at the ground and start trying to set fire to the ground. By holding down the fire button for a prolonged period of time, you can set fire to ships, and if you set fire to 10 skeleton ships, you will get the commendation of Warsmith of the Flame. As a note, it has to be 10 separate skeleton ships, so you can't just set fire to the same one 10 times, it has to be 10 unique ones. Once you set fire to the ship you're on, either drop the Ashen Wind skull, go back to your ship and sink the skeleton ship so you can collect the Ashen Wind skull from the loot, or attempt to reboard your ship with the Ashen Wind skull. Also, just quick note with Warsmith of the Flame, this commendation unlocks the most items out of any of the commendations, including both the Seared and Scorched Forsaken Ashes ship sets, like both entire ship sets. So even though this commendation is annoying, make sure you're still doing it because it unlocks the most stuff. It is also crew-wide, along with I think every other commendation in this category. So if you're in a crew, only one of you needs to be setting fire to the ships. And then continue the skeleton fleet, and every single time you see a new skeleton ship, try and set fire to it. Probably take you a couple fleets, but as soon as you've cleared out the fleet, you can go sell that Ashen Wind skull and progress your other commendation. Then dive to your next voyage, take out another Ashen Lord, check if there's a fleet, no fleet, go sell it, dive again, kill the Ashen Lord, get the skull. If there's a fleet, do the fleet. If there isn't, sell it. And then by the time you've defeated 25 Ashen Lords, you should ideally have all of these commendations done, and you'll be able to buy both the entire Seared and Scorched Forsaken Ashes set. Anyway, that is pretty much everything. If you have any questions or suggestions for future videos, you can leave them in the comments. I'll try and answer them as soon as possible. I make Sea Thieves guides like this all the time, so if that sounds like something that would be interesting to you, if you would consider subscribing, that would mean a lot. And if you want to see more videos like this one, there's a playlist on your screen right now called How to Get Updatable Items. That is every single one of my currently working Sea of Thieves guides. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time.